Hi, my name is Julie Meek. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in Boise, and I'm here to speak with you today about self-care in unprecedented times. As I do this, I ask for your grace and understanding as it's my first time presenting to an unknown audience through the computer screen, and I will do my best to be heartfelt and connected with you as much as I can, and in hopes that this reaches the right person in the right way at the right time. I'd like to thank the Idaho Children's Trust Fund for inviting me to provide you some content, some thoughts on the current times and how to take care of yourself and why that's important. And I want to thank you as well for tuning in and for paying attention to what might be hard to pay attention to right now. There's so much content and so much advice out there right now. So my hopes for this video and the next few after this, I think we're going to start by doing about 4 for the month of April. My hopes are that I give you some scientific information, because sometimes that's helpful, about the fight or flight freeze response and why it might be hard to make decisions right now or feel like ourselves or get our footing to be able to adjust to these new realities. And I also want to provide you some thoughts about normalcy and an appropriate response to these stressors, as well as some strategies that may be of use to you moving forward in your life and for your loved ones. Before I start all that though, it's really important that I say this. If you are experiencing extremely hard times right now psychologically or are not having your basic needs met, please call the COVID hotline for Idaho, which is 888-330-3010. And from there, you can choose from a menu of options for what you might be needing at this time. If you are in a mental health crisis, you can dial the number 6 after you call that number. You can also call the suicide hotline, and you can go to your nearest emergency room if things are really hard right now. And I strongly encourage you to do that, or reach out directly to a loved one at this time. If you know anybody that may be in immediate danger, please reach out to them immediately or call 911 and get that person help right away. So I feel like so many people have kind of jumped the gun, so to speak, with how to respond to social isolation in particular. If you're not familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this is it. This is a low-tech video, by the way, so here it is. And, you know, I feel like a lot of people are like, hey, this is a great time to self-actualize. Look at all this time you have on your hands. Become a yogi, learn a couple languages, learn an instrument, you know, really get in touch with yourself. And I think that's a beautiful sentiment and probably possible for lots of people. But the reality is for most people, this is really scary. And if you look at this again, our basic needs start with physiological needs and what we most need met to just survive. And then safety and belonging are next. And with this frame, I'd like to keep moving forward and talking with you about how to be realistic about what to expect from yourself right now. The reality is all of our lives have been disrupted. All of our routines have been disrupted. Our lifelines, our connections to human beings have been disrupted. We are extremely social creatures, and without the physical presence of other human beings, most of us start to feel uneasy and ungrounded. So with all of that going on, who needs the extra stress of feeling like you're not self-actualizing well enough? So I invite you to give yourself a break and to think first about what you really need to stabilize if you haven't had a chance to do that already. And again, that hotline I mentioned is there to help you meet your basic needs of rental assistance, of food stamps, of medical care, anything that is just a basic need that you may feel is jeopardized at this time. Please take care of those things first. Take care of what you absolutely need to first. The flip side to that is that it's really hard to make decisions and prioritize needs and to reorient to new realities when we're actively in a state of fight or flight. So I'd like to give you a little science now about the fight, flight, freeze response, where it came from, what it's all about, what its purpose is, and also how to regulate it so that it does its job rather than take over all of your awareness in your world. So if you'll bear with me a moment, I'm going to show you something called the hand model of the brain, if you haven't seen this already. And if you have, maybe it's a nice recap, or you can skip a minute or two in this video. It was originated by Dr. Dan Siegel, and it looks like this. So if you can pretend this is a brain and that this person is looking this way, this is the downstairs brain, and this is the upstairs brain. Upstairs meaning the prefrontal cortex, or the most frontal, higher areas of the brain, and the downstairs being these structures that are buried deep within the center of the brain. Upstairs brain is responsible for a lot of the things I just mentioned: prioritizing, being able to sit down, calm down, make a plan, to be able to take action once you've made that plan, to be able to stop yourself and think, okay, I don't know, maybe I'm off track here. Upstairs brain is responsible for helping us be compassionate toward other people and really think about how they might be feeling and meet their needs as well. And it's basically considered a higher order function, or something that we only really use when we're in a safe, provided environment. Downstairs brain, down here, is responsible for keeping us alive. It's really important too. It turns on and takes over the brain and the nervous system when there's an immediate threat in our environment, whether that threat is real, like say a bear walks into this room, or if it's perceived, say a worry about what might happen. So what happens when we perceive or see or hear a threat of some kind is the downstairs brain takes over, and we can call that something like flipping our lid. So we temporarily lose access to all that complex higher order thinking. Another word for that is executive function. You can Google that if you haven't heard of that. We temporarily lose access to that because basically the nervous system, the body decides we don't need those things right now. We just need to react to stay alive. So then the downstairs brain takes over, and a whole cascade, a domino effect happens in the body. It's really powerful, it's extremely rapid, and our heart thumps, our breathing gets shallow, our blood flow changes to keep us from bleeding out if we get a cut or laceration. Our blood leaves our digestive system, and digestive things happen because you don't really need to digest your food when you're fighting a bear. You need to have all of your energy in your muscles to either stay frozen so the bear doesn't see you, to run away from the bear, or if need, to fight the threat. Most human beings run or freeze, and some become fightful or argumentative. Everybody does all of these. It just kind of depends on the person and their background, which one they tend to default to when there's a threat in their environment. Now, the thing about this really complex system, and this really efficient system, is it works beautifully when there's a real immediate threat. And it's designed to come on every once in a while and then turn off once the threat is gone. Think about ancient people, living in a natural environment with each other. You really wouldn't have that many threats come around that often. So as we've all evolved over time, we've kept this nervous system intact for that kind of environment. Now, even before the pandemic, most people would agree that we're faced with more perceived threats than ever, even if we happen to actually be safer in reality in our homes. A perceived threat might be a perceived scarcity, or a real scarcity. Like, how am I going to pay rent? Where's the food going to come from? Is my loved one going to die, and am I going to see them before that happens? But the other thing about it is that we have a greater number of perceived threats all the time because of two factors. One, technology, social media, we're kind of bombarded with information all the time about how the entire world is doing, mostly negative information because that's what makes the news. And because, yes, there are more crises maybe going on now than there ever have been in our world history. But especially now, we have this added threat of isolation. And the body just simply isn't used to this. It was happening before with an increase in social technology and a kind of a misunderstood idea that if you're connecting through a screen, you're connecting. Well, the body doesn't really believe that or take that yet as truth. If you're not really with somebody, it's easy to start to feel lonely. And if you think about, how our species came to be, ancient people, if one was left in the woods or abandoned or, asked to leave and to live in isolation, that person was immediately in great danger. Because our lifelines as mammals, as animals, as beings, is our precious close relationships. That's why if a crisis happens, or if a scary thing happens in the presence of a parent and a child, that child immediately looks to the parent to get information about how they are supposed to respond. If that parent remains calm and centered, the child calms down. If that parent becomes alarmed and frantic, the child becomes alarmed and frantic. We rely on our precious relationships to keep us safe, to provide for us, and to help us regulate. We simply aren't really designed physiologically for completely independent self-regulation, meaning we really do need each other to help each other calm down and to feel safe. So what to do about all this? I think you've probably seen plenty of advice out there to do your best to create a social network during these times to help bring that flipped lid back into a place of calm, into a place of feeling like you're going to be okay and that you have what you need, and at least you have the people that you need to see you through this. Because it's really hard for our bodies to believe that we are truly not alone unless there's someone in the room with us. Utilizing video conferencing as much as possible, FaceTiming, or at least a phone call, rather than just text and messaging apps, would be my clinical recommendation and my personal recommendation. Zoom meetings with the family every Sunday at 2. Deciding to create a regular weekly Zoom chat with you and a couple other close friends. Leaving the video conferencing on while y'all just kind of hang out and make dinner instead of always feeling like you have to stay in an engaged conversation. Because indeed, most of our interactions, include spacious times where we're just kind of being with each other. That can be extremely calming and comforting. So the next thing I want to offer you in this introductory video is another way to bring the lid back on and to help the up and downstairs brain be regulated, integrated, and talking with each other. And that's what happens when we're feeling calm, centered, and like we can make decisions again and that we can do what's best for our families. And I'm going to offer you a meditation that is designed to get at the factors that really help that fight or flight system calm down and let what's called the social engagement system, sorry for all the jargon, it's something to call it, the upstairs brain of the social engagement system to come back on and to allow you to live with more intention and to respond rather than to react. This strategy is called the 3 Bs. And the 3 Bs stand for body, breath, and brain. Body represents something called progressive muscle relaxation. And in this meditation, we're going to relax the muscles as much as they can and scan them and be with them. And this practice sends a message back to the downstairs brain, hey, everything's safe, everything's all right. and allows that fight or flight system to calm down. Same with the next B, breath. We're going to use a belly breath to the bottom of the belly, really expanding the belly like a balloon with the in-breath. And a few of those in succession do the same thing. Relax the fight or flight system and allow what's called the parasympathetic nervous system or the calming system to come on and calm things down. And the last B is for brain or positive self-talk, giving yourself a message that is truly calming and comforting, kind of like you would speak to an upset child. I'm safe, I can handle this, or you're safe, everything is okay, it's all going to work out, I'm here for you. So for the sake of time, I'm going to provide you this meditation either in an email. You can email me for a link to that meditation, or you can click on the link below for a separate video of the 3B's meditation. With any meditation or any kind of suggestive self-regulation practice, again, I invite you to take what you value and feel is useful from the practice and to cast aside or modify anything that doesn't feel right for you. It's for you, and you're the expert on yourself. So I hope you'll return to this video series. I have a framework I'd like to share with you for 8 different areas that you can target for your self-care practices. The reason self-care is so important right now, again, is so that you can reach a place of intentionality and integration with your nervous system, feel better, connect more deeply, and to be a safer refuge for the ones that love you and those that you love. We're all here in it together. I'm going through the same things that you're going through, and I recognize how difficult this is. And I also recognize the power and opportunity that this time has to allow us to really get to know ourselves and to grow as people and grow as a community and as a human family. So with that, I'll leave you, and please do give me an email if you'd like more information or resources, or if you'd like any information about further support. My caseload right now is just about full. However, I am happy to help you find the right counselor for you online if you would like additional support at this time, which I do highly recommend. Wishing you well and a wonderful day and week, and I'll see you again soon.